Okay, this presentation is going to go through what's new in Spire 3.6. So on the agenda today is core features in the program itself, credit card processing changes, payroll changes, Spire Cloud, which is new, Spire Admin and some new things in there, and web modules, which is new. Okay, so what's new in the core? Well, speed, first of all. We've sped up the program in many areas, and those of you with larger databases should find that you'll have a nice speed increase. Okay, so the first one I'm not going to show you, but basically what happens when you do a year end and there's unreconciled transactions in the bank that have been sitting there for a long time. They should have been cleaned out, but in the past, when you close the year, they kind of get pushed off into history and they no longer can be reconciled. So people were finding they couldn't balance their reconciliation because they're now gone. But like I said, they should have been cleaned up, but we now post a warning during the closing of the year to let you know that there are transactions that should be cleaned up before you actually close the year. If you do close the year with those transactions, there is still a way to get them reconciled, but it's much more difficult. Okay, open inventory from requisitions we will go into. So in the requisitions list, you'll see here we've got a number of items at the top here, or in the list, I should say. And oops, that's requisitions. So we go into requisitions. So here we have items that have been requisitioned, and you can view the source, which we've had there for a while, so you can see where the requisition came from. You can view the target. So this is the purchase order in this case that got created, and now you can also open the inventory item, so you can actually analyze inventory's movement and sales and open orders and things like that before you actually process a requisition. Okay, back to our slide. Incoterms for sales orders and purchase orders. So what in the past we've just had FOB, but that's just one of the Incoterms that are used. So under company settings, and we can either go into the sales orders or into the purchase orders, and you'll find down the bottom to use Incoterms. If you don't turn it on, it's simply using the FOB like it was before, but here you can now turn it on and set a default one. So if your default is FOB or one of the other Incoterms, you can select it, and you can key in some wording here like our doc, or if you want them to always enter something, maybe a note that says enter location, which is what I've done there. So now when I go to create a sales order, and you'll see here that it's got the FOB by default put on there and the enter name. So you can now just type in whatever our doc or wherever the FOB is, or if it was something else, you can choose it there as well. And you can turn this on for purchase orders and sales orders, or either or. Okay, close that. Okay, so the country is now on the sales and sales order history, sales history. So if we just go into sales history here, I think I've got one set up. Yeah, sales by country. So this is a new column and a new filter that you can set. So you can tell it to, country is, and you can choose it, or you can just simply sort by country. Oh, to go back. So now you've got a list you can export out with the country code on it. And that same column exists in sales orders as well. Okay. Next one is levy. So same thing. I've got one here called disposal levy. So the levy code is inside of sales order items. So you can now report and export on this if you need to. Okay. And they're also again in sales orders as well. Add a warehouse location to the inventory count. So let's go to inventory. Let's sort on, let's say, a particular vendor, and let's go do a count of all these items. So I'm going to select them, highlight them, click the count button, and you'll see now that the warehouse location is set on all these. So you can easily find them if you want, you can sort by them, so that way you can sort this list by how you printed your count sheets. And then we also added under manual count. So the same thing here. If you're entering in your count and you've been handed the sheets with them sorted by the location, you can just simply go sort by location and key them all into here. Okay. Close that. Oop, while they're saving it. Next, add the alternate and vendor part number to history or to inventory search. Okay, so what we've got there, if we go to sales, actually we'll go to the part number first and we'll show you that. And under ABMAT, I've got, under vendor pricing, I've got two vendor part numbers, AA111 and BBB222, two different vendors, okay? And then I've also got on the details tab here, I've got an alternate part number of 4RTT, okay? So I'm going to go to sales and hit add, create a sales order. Okay, so here I'm going to type in AAA111 and you'll see that it brought up ABMAT. And I'm going to type in BBB222 and it brought up ABMAT. And then the alternate part number was 4RTT, so I go 4RTT, and of course it brought up the ABMAT plus the actual 4RTT. So from your sales order here, you can just key in to the here and it will auto-complete to find the number. Of course, you can also use that in the inventory search because that really does the same thing. If I go to the top here, I can go to the top and go AAA111 and it finds the ABMAT as well. And same as the, was it 4RTT, and it finds both those part numbers. Okay, back to our list. Add original quote number to the sales order list. So if we go to the sales orders here, and you'll see that some of these quotes have been converted from from quote numbers to order numbers. Now we've always had those original quote numbers in the data, but we never displayed them on the screen like this. So if a customer phones you about a quote number, it's much easier to find this way. Okay. And back. Show sales order line cost in yellow if the user edits the cost. So we do have a setting that allows users to edit costs on the fly. Not a good setting to turn on if you want to keep your inventory in balance, but some companies don't really track costs, or you've got miscellaneous items or whatever. But here, you allow you now to, when you do change the cost, so say I turn to $34, it turns the background to a yellow color. Okay, so that way when you come into this order, you know that the cost that's going to get posted to the sales history and to the general ledger is a user entered cost. You may want to check it out to make sure that that particular cost is indeed correct. Okay. Add open customer and inventory to sales history view. So we go into the sales history here. You'll see if we go into one, let's go into one of these and highlight an item. You can now open the inventory just like you could in sales orders. So that you can analyze this item from history and also open the customer. So you can open up customer, check their receivables and check their sales history, items they've been purchasing, whatever you need to look at for a customer or inventory item. Okay. And next, restrict view of banking info on customer and vendors by a security setting. So in edit user settings, I go under my name and I look under, let's go to, which way did I set that? I'm going to go to, let's go to vendors, and you'll see here that manage bank information is unchecked, but under customers, the manage bank information is checked. So you can see which way is different. So let's look at customers first of all. And you'll see that under billing, I can see their institution, transit, and account number. We have this here for EFT purposes, of course. And under vendors, go into a vendor, go to billing, and it would normally be sitting right in here, and it's not visible to this user. Okay. Add reprint inventory adjustment report, including transfers and adjustments. So on this particular one, if we go to inventory adjustments, you'll see that, actually I'll talk about the next feature here along here too, in that I can actually, we have actually separated adjustments and transfers into two areas, whereas before you saw them both on the same interface here. But now we've moved them into two different spots. So we got inventory adjustments and we got inventory transfers separated. Okay, so let's just go back into inventory adjustments. So here's a past posted adjustment we made, and we can just hit print and preview and reprint it. Whereas in the past, because it went to purchase history, which it no longer does, because they go to their own tables now, it would reprint what looked kind of like a purchase order, which was not very handy. Okay, just skip over. Okay, we did mention that one. We simplified the inventory transfers and separated them. And we added a transfer pick ticket and packing slip. So let's go back to inventory and transfers. Okay, I'll just do one that's already been posted here, but you can do the same thing when you're when it's not posted as well. So we can just go to print, and you see I've got a transfer ticket and a picking ticket. So if we preview those, there's our packing slip. So for the transfer, so when the receiving entity gets this product, they can check it off just like they would if it was a like a sales order. Okay, and there's the pick ticket. So they look very much like our sales reports, because that's kind of what they are. They're like a sale between the company. Okay. Inventory quantities to the kit dialog. So this is going to make a lot of people very happy. So we go to sales. I'm going to go ahead and sell a kit. And let's go KB kit. Okay, so this dialog pops up, and you can now see how many of each item are on hand, available, back ordered, and on order from the supplier. So very handy. In the past we just showed you the I think it's just quantity, but we had a few that wanted to see as I was selling them what my available stock was on the components of the kit. So okay, there we are. We added a web browser module. Okay, so that's a module on here. So under browser, and you'll see that by default, I got a few tabs at the top. By default, I got my web page on the first tab. I've got my Gmail account on the second tab. This is just a Play account I've got. And then I got any other third-party app that you've got for Spire, you could put on another tab or several tabs. So if you've got web-based third-party apps, you can actually put them right inside of Spire now. Okay, and basically the way you do that is the very first time the browser module doesn't show up on the list, you have to go up to Edit and Browser tabs, and then just enable at least one tab by hitting this button here, and you can add them on right here. Okay, so I got one company tab for the website, and my own user ones are under here, and I can add as many of those as I need to. Okay, so it just makes it handy. You don't have to actually leave the program to go into a particular web page that you use a lot. Okay, and what do we have next? Add ability to see and change the unit of measure on the warehouse during a count. Should probably have that one earlier, as we had already looked at counts, but that's okay. Right here, back to inventory, and I can let's just sort by part number here, Now let's just count the first few items. And we'll go count. And the ABMAT is in eaches, but maybe I'm counting boxes, so I can switch to boxes as well. So on the fly here, I can just switch to whatever unit measure I need to. Okay, we'll close that. Auto-generate serial numbers will now start at 1 if no initial serial number is set as base. So what happens, I'll just explain this one. What happens is if you receive serial number 5678 previously and you hit the auto-generate, it will go with 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 or whatever for the next number, or 5, 6, 7, 9, I guess it is. But if you don't have one set at all, it will start at a number 1. Okay, and if you receive 10, it'll go serial numbers 1 through 10, and then the next time around it'll go from 11 and up. Okay, just a small change there. A toggle button for kits in sales history view. So we go to sales history. So I sold some kits at all recently. So sales history, and we'll just sort by date. And let's have a look here. No kits there. Oh, there's one. So this is a kit, a pre-core build rebuild package, and we now have the toggle. We can have a look at what was in that package. Whereas in the past, you just saw the top assembly. The data was always there in the database, but we just did not have a way of seeing that. Okay. Support for multiple inventory images. Okay, so here I'm going to go back to my inventory list. And I'm going to go to my INS DB10. And if I go to my images tab, you'll see I have 3 images on here. So I'll just add one more. I just hit the plus button and go down to my weight number 4, and there's my 4th image was added. Okay. And our next one on the list is also communications. We've added the ability to add multiple attachments to a communication now. So this is a documents for INSDB. I got a website. So I click on a website here, then it opens up to that particular item on a website. I'm just pointing to an Amazon site here. Okay, I've got an outdoor workspace Excel spreadsheet that I can open up. I went on to my other monitor, so let's just move it over. There it is. Okay, and I've got inventory receipts document. So I looked at a past document. So let's move that over too. There's a receipt document. So let me just do that again. Click it, and it opens up the receipt document. There we go. Okay, so there's 3 of them, 3 of the receipt added. 3 of these attachments added to it. This one was added by a link, and these 2 were added by an attachment. They just show up on the bottom here. If you want to remove them, you just X and it'll take them out. Okay. Spreadsheet. Back to here. Too many things open. Okay. There's the second one we just showed you, that was support for multiple communications attachment. Okay, a foreign currency button in the Edit General Ledger Accounts Receivable Historical tab. Okay, so if we go to General Ledger and we pick this USD account here, we go to History, we go into one of the transactions tabs. So there's all the items that I can toggle between foreign and base currency. Okay. Okay, what's new in credit card processing? This I'm just going to talk about because without actually processing credit cards, can't show much. But for our Payfirma integration, we've added pre-authorization now. So in a sales order, you can hit the pre-auth button at the top of the order, and it will do a credit card check, make sure the funds are available, and then you can capture that pre-auth afterwards when you go to invoice it. Okay. We allowed Payfirma to be used in point of sale for customers with vaulted credit cards. So if they've got credit cards on file, Of course, credit cards on file are not stored in Spire. They're stored in Payfirma's vault, so we have no access to them. Okay, we allow updates for customer information. So if you change an address in Spire, it will update. You can update the amount, the address information, contact information, and such in the Spire portal or the Payfirma portal as well. Okay, and we got some other changes coming for Payfirma as well, which we'll announce shortly. So, what's new in the payroll? So, first one's just a simple one. If you're in July or August, you're on past the July 1st date where the payroll changes may come out, then we pop a warning saying you may not be up to date. It doesn't always change in July, so it's not super important that you must update, but you will get a warning message with payroll if you are running on a version of Spire that does not include July tables. Okay, the payroll table version and help about. So we go help and about Spire. You'll see that we're on January 2021 tables. Okay. A couple of simple things to start with. Okay, allow GL job cost memo to be filled in for payroll time card lines. So if we go into, let's go into look at it from the payroll area, or the, have a look there. Okay, so if we look at these top time cards here, you'll see that Julie Schneider had a time card entry posted, and it went to this particular job, and the memo was commission for a commission for design. Okay, so that got added as we entered the time card for this employee. If we look at that job, which is Karsten, go into the job costing, and we go into Karsten, and we go to the entries, we'll see that entry right here. Okay, so that got entered. The memo got added right into the job here. All right. Back to definable pay types in payroll and the ability to set pay default types. This one's pretty big change. So back to payroll. Payroll. And first of all, we're going to go up at the top here and look under time card entry codes. Okay, so these are all the codes available to you when you're producing payroll. If you were using a previous version of Spire, then it'll convert the ones you already have, like standard ones, advanced, bonus, commission, other, overtime, premium, regular, and salary. But I've got extra ones added, so things like shop overtime, shop premium, and regular. And what I've done here is I've defined the that the regular is at a regular rate of $25, and number of hours per pay period is $40, or 40 hours, sorry. Okay, so that's shown all here. I defined it all here. If I don't put a GL account in here, it'll post to this payroll department standard account that's set up in there for where the expense gets posted to, but I can redirect this to a different GL account as well. Okay. And I've got all the, I'm just going to show you as well, adding a new one, brand new. So notice that all the rules are all checked off here, tax EPI, because by default, that's normal. You should be paying tax. But if you pick one of the other ones like vacation, advance, where there's no vacation, you'll see it gets unchecked automatically because there's certain rules about them. So and there is also overtime, and you'll notice it says in Alberta and Manitoba, there's no vacation on overtime, so that's unchecked or taken off. And then you've got several other rules as well, so that ones you can choose from. If you pick one of them, those rules get added. So other, no vacation, which is what we used to do with other as well. You also can go right from scratch here, where you get to decide what gets charged. But this is a gun you can shoot yourself in the foot with, so be very careful with it. You do not want to be creating pay types that are supposed to have taxes charged, and you do not actually set them up correctly. There are cases where it's needed, but you do need to be careful with this. Okay. Once I've set up all my pay types, I can now also go into payroll and into payroll departments. So I'll look at my service department here and look under entries here, make that a bit wider. You'll see here that I've added in shop overtime, premium, and regular, and I've set those as defaults. Okay, so which means I take the default from the master list that we looked at earlier. However, if I want this department to have a different rate, I can uncheck that and set my own rates for the department. Okay, I've also manually added car allowance and said that it's $300. Okay, now we will save and close that and look in one more place under employees, and we'll look under Greg, time card entry codes. And you'll see that, oh, we'll go back to details for a second. You see he's in Department 3, which is the service department that we just looked at. And so he automatically got added, those grayed out ones, for car allowance, shop, overtime, premium, and regular. And I can again override these. So if he gets a car allowance of not $250, he actually gets a car allowance of $350 because maybe he's a manager. We can override that and have it automatically added. And his regular time is automatically added. Okay, and the others are not automatic. You'll see what happens there. You'll see these two are checked to be automatically added to the time card. All right, so now we're going to close all that, go into time card batches, and we're going to create a new batch of payroll. We'll do this for February the 28th, and we'll add all time cards. Okay, so this is another feature that you'll see when I get to it down the list. We now have pop-ups for communications for employees. So for Julie, we're supposed to make sure that we review her vacation request, and for Danielle, we're supposed to add a $500 special commission for a Karsten job. So this is something we wanted to tag on there to not forget about. And once you've done them, you can edit that and of course mark them as complete so they don't show up again. Okay, so we go to each employee. Let's look at Stu Gregg. We looked at earlier. His rate was 40 hours at 25. So he automatically got 40 hours added, and the rate got put in there automatically, and the car allowance got put there automatically. Okay, still can override from here. So if he did work extra hours, but you can also, of course, go add pay, and all of the items that are available under his department. So he's in Department 3, remember. I can go ahead and grab those, and it'll put the rates on there properly. So we know that $35 is the correct rate, and he worked 12 hours of premium. We put that on, and we can keep adding pay as we need to. However, we can also get to the master list by going look up here and get to the ones that are not signed to this department under normal circumstances. Okay, so you can grab any of these ones as well. Okay, so once we're done, you'll see that payroll for hourly employees becomes way easier because their default number of hours gets put on automatically. You don't have to go and add the hours manually every time. All you need to do now is put in what the differences are from this period compared to the usual. Plus, you saw that we can redirect any pay type to any GL account that we wish, so we can refine our expenses from payroll a lot tighter than doing it through a single payroll department. So, okay. So that's the new pay types. Last days since pay in time cards to assist with tax and commission calculations. Here you see us here. There's a last day paid here. You can key in a number there, and it will make a difference in their deductions by putting that in there. That's needed for commission people. Oh, too many things open now. There you go. Okay, employee communication alerts we saw when we did the time card. Show red communications employees when they have communications. So if we go to Danielle, we'll see that she's in red, means she has a communication. Okay, Pd27E report, so assisting calculating the temporary wage subsidy for CRA. So if we go to back to payroll and go to payroll and to source deductions, which is, where are we here? Go there. Was looking for the little red flag. Okay, so here is the source deduction. So we're going to report on, say, all three of these periods. I would just hit print, and I'll just print the Pd27 report and preview that. And you'll see here that we have all the amounts and the subsidy amount. So when you go to do your subsidy for the year, for 2020, this will help you with filling out that form that needs to be filled out on CRA's site on your My Business. There's a form you need to fill out, and all the data will come from here. So, okay. Actually, I should probably start remembering to close a few of these things as I finish with them. Okay. Okay, automatic TD1 claim amounts. Okay, this is something else we should look at for the employees. So in employees, the amounts tab, you'll see here that this one's set to 0, and 0 means that they typically have another job somewhere else, so that you don't want to be giving them any kind of claim amount because they have a job where elsewhere they've already put the claim amount in. So you want to set this to 0. You want to review all these settings to make sure that you're got them all correct, because there's been changes along the way as to what 0 means. So it's a really good idea to review these, and we do have a video actually that talks about just the review. So check that out on our site. Automatic means that you do not put a claim amount in, and it depends on how much the person makes as what the claim amount is. That's something new with CRA, where they scale that number up and down based on the period's pay. So for federal, that's across the board, can be checked automatic. Okay. For provincial, for some provinces, it's also automatic. I believe it's Nova Scotia and one of the territories. If I go to a Nova Scotia employee, I'm not sure if I have any, but let's just look under payroll and TD1 updates, and you should see everybody. Okay, so here I can turn the automatic on for all the employees for the federal, which is probably the best thing to do, unless of course the person has extra claim amounts from their TD1. Provincial, you can go and check off. No, I haven't got anybody in Nova Scotia, but you can then check off anybody who is in Nova Scotia, so it goes to automatic as well. Okay, but make sure you know the rules when you change those. All right, the next one. Keep going, the wrong one. COVID subsidy calculation on the T4. Okay, so this one is had some changes along the way. CRA, what they did was with the 4 different periods where you can claim the subsidy, has to be reported on T4s now. Okay, so if I go to T4s, I've generated my 2020 T4s already, and if we go into one of them, you'll see that just make that a bit smaller there. You see that this person has the employment income for those 4 different periods. I filled these out manually on most of these, but it will calculate them for you automatically. My demo data didn't have the right periods of payroll in it, but it will grab that all for you automatically when you generate the PO and populate these 4 fields. Well, the problem with that was that there was only 2 more fields now where you could add others. So a lot of people have taxable benefits and employment commissions, but there are some people that have a 7th or maybe even an 8th box that they need to fill out here. So it then doesn't fit on the T4, because the T4 slip itself only has room for 6. So what CRA has done is they want a second T4 printed for the employee with just that information on it. When you electronically upload that, that data will get added to the file that gets uploaded to CRA, but the printed T4 has to be on a second page, and I'll show you what that looks like. So I hit print. I'll just print the CRA copy of it, but all three of them do it. And you'll see here that this employee has box 57, 59, 40, 58. So there's 6 of them all filled out, and that's all the room there is on the T4 slip. And they do not allow us to modify this to add more boxes. So what they want is a second page. All it has on it is the employee's information, their name, their social insurance number, the company employer information, and only the 7th box, or if there was 8, 7th and 8th boxes. Nothing else is on this T4, and that's their requirement. That was just posted recently, so make sure you update to the latest version of either 3.5 or 3.6 so you get this ability. Okay. Okay, so that's what we just talked about there. So we showed you both the COVID subsidy calculation automatically happens, and also the additional T4 amounts on the boxes. Okay, next step here we'll show you is Spire Cloud hosting. So Spire is now offering hosting for your Spire server. You still need your workstation installed on your Windows computer in your office or home or wherever, but some people just don't require a server except for Spire. So we now have the ability for you to host it on a server. This server is secured, so you can talk to your Spire partner and get that arranged if you want to put your data up there, and we don't make you keep it there. If you want to go on our server for even a temporary basis for a few months while you're working on a new server, that's fine too. You can do that. There is fees for it, obviously, and you can get that pricing from your partner, Spire partner. But yeah, so you basically have the actual data will stay on spire-cloud.com, and the advantages are, well, no outlay for server infrastructure, no server maintenance. We do take care of all that. Instant provisioning. So if you're set at, say, I don't know, let's say you're a late adopter, then you'll get an update automatically. Happens to your server when that particular version has been out for quite a while. And if you're an early adopter, you'll get it early. If you're mainstream, you'll get it mainstream in the middle somewhere. Okay. Updates are done for you, so you just don't have to do that. Okay, and you'll see in a future, in another slide, what's the nice thing about with Spire 3.6 and above. Once you're on 3.6, reports don't break from version to version either, so they'll continue to run because we have something in place that makes an older report still run on a newer version of Spire. Okay, so the reliability and uptime for remote users, this is hosted online in a very secure, very reputable server. So you will be guaranteed some pretty high uptime percentages. And remote and mobile access. So you're at home, you got your laptop, fire it up. You can start Spire desktop and choose that server and log on to it. And then, as you'll see in a moment, some mobile device access as well. And this also makes it easier for web integrations because of the actual server is hosted online. Web integrations to Spire become much, much easier. Okay, so let's have a look at what's new in the admin area. So when you create a snapshot or restore a company or add a new company, it automatically creates a snapshot for you where, a schedule. So in the past, it relied on you to remember to set up the backup. So what it does is it does a single backup every night at midnight or 1 minute before midnight, and you can still obviously go in there and change that to keeping more than one, 9, 10, 11, 12, however you want to keep. Okay. What we've done too is we've centralized the image and attachment handling in the Spire server. So that what the problem was before was that you had somebody on a workstation somewhere that would attach an image or an attachment, and it attached to their documents folder in their own computer. And then when somebody else tried to access it, they couldn't get at it. Okay. So now what happens is as soon as you attach it, it uploads it into a folder on the server inside the Spire data folder with all the attachments and images. So this keeps things much, much cleaner. Okay, we've had the ability to create a zip file with all data. I'm just actually going to show you this one. So let's just go open up a web browser, do that. Okay. Go into my Spire server. So this is my Spire admin. Not everybody's probably seen this yet, but if you haven't done any administration on the server, you may not have seen this. But basically what we've added here now is something called archive. So if you've got multiple companies on the list, say you've got 2, 3, 4 companies on the list. Actually, I'm just going to import one more company so we have more than one. Oops, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go to companies. I'm going to restore a company. Okay, I'll just go browse. There's a company, gives it a name, and then like I said about snapshots, creates one snapshot daily, but of course you can change this to a bigger number if you wish. And I'm just restoring that data. It's a pretty small company, just another copy of Inspire Health, so it's pretty small. Anyway, so back to archive again. We can now, let's refresh this list. We have 2 companies. Check off both of them. And I'm including all the accounts, so that's the users and passwords. All the media, that's attachments and images, and reports, so custom reports. You could uncheck one of these if you want to, but otherwise you just hit create archive. And what it's doing now is it's creating a zip file that is stored on the server that you can now download. So if you go into import, you'll see there's that archive I just created. I can now download this. It comes to my local computer, and I'll just open it up, the other monitor. You'll see there that there's the snapshots for the 2 companies. There's all the reports are in here, and all the media files are in here. I don't have too many in here, but inventory images and so on. Okay, so those are all linked. Now what you can do, if you are moving from one server to another, you can then take this zip file, you spin up the server, and simply grab the zip file. It imports all your companies, all your accounts, all your custom reports, all your images into a brand new server. Okay, so if you're switching from, say, your own server to our Spire Cloud, that can be just imported directly in, and everything's set up in one step. Okay. Ability to download desktop from Spire Administrator. So you've installed Spire on a server. You're on a local workstation. I've pointed it somewhere. I'm just pointed to my local computer here right now, but you can be pointed to your cloud server or wherever it happens to be. And then you've got this button right here that allows you to download the desktop client. So it downloads the matching desktop client for the version that you are on for the server. So once if you've basically in the past, where if you've got a new workstation added to your network, you had to go find the installer file that your partner gave you originally, whereas now you just have to go up to your server location, wherever it happens to be. Even if it's a cloud server, you can just key in your cloud server setting right here. Actually, I've got one I can key in there. Okay, so this is on our cloud server. This is one of our just a demo company online. So you see that even though I'm on demo.spire-cloud.com, I still got this download that I can do and download the workstation from that cloud server to your local workstation and install it. So super easy to do. Oh, just did that one. Bulk uploads of reports in Spire Admin. Okay, so what that is, if I want to add a bunch of custom reports, so I go to my reports tab, I can now upload, and I can just simply drag and drop a whole series of reports from here, or I can click on this button and then just group select a whole bunch of reports, click open, and it'll upload all the reports in one step. Now you can choose to give it for one particular company, or if you don't pick a company, it'll give those reports to all companies. So no longer having to grab one report at a time. Okay. Automatic snapshot when performing a database upgrade. So it's not something you may have been involved in too much, but if your database needs to be upgraded to a new version. And what you'll see a lot of times, this will be italicized, which means it's a new version that the data needs to be upgraded in. So when you did these, you had to remember to click on it and create a snapshot, which is easy, which just did there. Just take a few seconds, that's done. But what happens now, when you click it and you do a database upgrade by clicking this button, it automatically does a snapshot first before it does the upgrade. This way, if something does go wrong during the upgrade, getting back to the original is very easy. Okay. Version views for reports. So this is that I talked about earlier, where if you upgrade your Spire from 3.6 to 3.7 or another version, that your reports themselves do not break because we've got versioning built into it now. So that way, you can do the automatic updates and worry about adding the new fields to reports later, and you're still functioning. Okay. We've added web modules as well. You may have seen it on my screen earlier. I showed you. But we got web modules for customers, vendors, sales orders, sales history, and purchase orders. Okay, so let's go back there, and you'll see here I got my customer list. And so because this is right here, I'm on demo-cloud.spire.cloud.com. I can actually get at this from any web-enabled device. So I've got an iPhone or a Samsung device, an iPad, or any kind of device that's got a browser on it. I actually have a browser on my screen in my car, and let me just show you that picture for a second here. Okay, let's just go back to the slides for a second, and I've got a picture. So there, my car happens to have a display on it that has a web browser. Of course, you have to be pulled over to use it, but you'll see that basically I can open up Spire there, and I can check out sales orders, customers, inventory, and such. So let's just move back to the program. So in here, let's just look at sales in particular. These are all sales orders that are in the system now. Okay, I can sort this by date, of course, and whatever columns. But when I go into an order, here is the actual order itself and all the items in it. This particular one doesn't have much in it. Let's look at a different one. Let's go back to sales. Oops. Orders. And let's find one that might have a bit more stuff in it. Like this one here. Okay, so there's all the items on the order. I can go here and update quantities. I can add to the order. And if I'm on an iPhone or a smaller device, let me just press F12 here. That kind of simulates what it looks like on a phone. So there it is. You'll see the screen actually change. So each of the lines, the separate lines, are one item of the order. Now I can update quantities here, and I can change that, and then get OK on it. That updates it, and my totals are all down here. I can expand that to see my freight, my taxes, and such. But basically, if you're on a online like this, I can take my phone and I can check orders, and before I go into a customer, I can check their sales history, what they've been buying. These modules are fairly infinite so far, or they're in their infancy so far. So we'll be adding more and more as we get feedback from people. But basically, if you're on 3.6 and you're up to date on your annual fees, which of course most of you are anyway, then you get these modules. You do have to be up to date to get these modules because we have to keep the security up to date, obviously, on all this. So basically, you'll find all these modules to be very handy, and we'll be adding, like I said, more and more of the program to this all the time. Now, not everything's conducive to online ordering like this, processing. You wouldn't want to do a bunch of data entry or accounts receivable in here necessarily, but as we add modules, you decide which modules you use online and which modules you use on your Windows desktop. Both can be used at the same time, because a sales order that gets produced in here is available on the desktop. An order that's produced on the Windows desktop is available here. It is just a different interface on top of the exact same data. Okay, back to our slide. Lastly, we want to mention that a lot of our courses are online at the academy.spiresystems.com. So this all this information, as it becomes available, new courses get added all the time. There's probably a dozen or so courses there now, and we are adding more and more all the time. And as we get caught up on all the modules, we'll just keep adding each of the new modules there as well. So that's it. Hope you enjoy 3.6.